send it up, and they've carried through.
Two big guys going at it, boy.
This is a big guy battle. Wow.
Well, an advantage for the Ranger. Remke has no helmet for Johnston, so those punches are going to hurt a little more when they land.
Let them go.
One guy's 6'7", how big's Johnston? 6'5"?
No, I think he's 6'7" also. Yeah, that's pretty good size.
Let's go. Welcome to the Instigators Hockey Show. He's Kotze. I'm Paulie. And this is the Instigators Hockey Show. Well, we're back after a little hiatus. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Kotze had a good birthday.
Yeah, it's everything's going good in life, but our team.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, all my teams suck. You know, I follow football still a little bit. The Niners suck, big donkey dig. You know what I mean? I don't follow baseball, so I could care. You know, I could care less about the Toronto Blue Jays. And in basketball, the Raptors, but who cares?
Yeah, I don't watch basketball.
The one that hurts the most, realistically, is the spiral of the New York Rangers. But I'm sure we'll get into it. I'm sure we'll get into it big time.
And we will get into that. I don't have a lot to talk about. We'll talk about this. You know, we haven't actually given any time, and I think it's because nobody cares. And I don't know whose idea was this. And I just don't think the NHL really has the temperature of the fans anymore. I think the brass running the league really are starting to not understand, and they're disconnecting from the fans because this whole Four Nations thing. I gotta be honest with you.
I'm like you. I haven't paid any attention. The only thing I heard is Canada left Bedard off the team.
Yeah, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about this. Nobody cares.
And I'm sure your comrade there, Ovechkin's not happy that there's no what?
There's no Russian team.
Oh, too bad. Too bad.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the political end of it, I guess, because, you know, Russia's, you know, created war with Ukraine and blah, 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 and Putin's just a psychopath. So, but more importantly, I'm not sure. Is this an Olympic year? You know, I think that they're trying to make something other than the Olympics. I just got to tell you, and I mean, I've been a long-time hockey fan, and I've spoke to a lot of people. I don't think the NHL understands that nobody cares about this. These four teams. I think it's just a distraction from the NHL and what really is more important. The Four Nations. I think it's nonsense, and I just don't think the NHL understands. The fans don't care about this stuff.
Let me ask you this, okay? Because just old hockey player had a few pucks to my head. When the hell is this supposed to start?
February.
Oh, so it's an in-season thing.
Yeah, of course. February 12th through the 20th, I believe. I might be a day or two off. I believe it's the 12th through the 20th.
I apologize, you know, for not knowing my homework here, but that's exactly how I feel. Like, who gives a shit, honestly?
Nobody cares. Nobody wants to do the homework because nobody cares. So the Four Nations, obviously Canada, U.S., Sweden, and God, what's the last one?
Czechoslovakia or Finland?
I think it would be Finland, yeah. So I think you're right. I just, again, my point of this is that I really just don't think the NHL understands its fan base anymore.
I don't get it why you're trying to play this thing in season when you know the goal of every organization in the National Hockey League is to win the Stanley Cup.
Right.
So you're going to go bust your ass, which they will. Trust me, these players will bust their ass playing for their country with the possibility of getting injured and being out for the rest of the season.
Right.
By you, Beth, injuries. I'd be pretty pissed off if I had a top-line player or a top player that's making a lot of money, winning or losing a medal and coming home with a broken leg or something like that. You know what I mean? Something that puts them up for the rest of the year. But again, I don't know, man. I've been seeing four nations, but I never really read into it, never looked it up. I did see some of the, who got left off the team, people complaining already. That's about it, Paulie. That's all I know about that shit.
When is Beth? Do you know when the next Winter Olympics is? Is it this? I don't believe it's this winter. I'm just.
No, it's not going to be 2025.
You wouldn't think, right? Because that's what the players want to play in. And that's we have this talk all the time.
It usually falls on an even year, Paulie, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's another one that I guess I haven't done my homework on because I really don't care.
Probably.
Michael, what's up?
2026. But I don't get it. I don't think anyone cares. I don't know that anyone's really going to watch this. But again, like I said, I just don't believe the NHL has the pulse on their finger on the pulse for the NHL this year. And it's been declining recently. Another newsworthy situation, I guess Luke Richardson got fired today from the Blackhawks.
You just shocked the shit out of me pre-show about that. I never heard that. I mean, I was looking around today. It must have just happened in the last hour or so.
So
I'm kind of shocked with that because, I know he's only in his third year there, but, you look at that team, it's got a lot of youth on it, and the older guys that they got aren't quite doing what they're supposed to do. And I'm also biased because I was Luke Richardson. They gave him to me in Toronto as an 18, 19-year-old playing defense, and he turned out to be a pretty good, damn good defenseman. Had a great. Well, he played the game. He played the game hard. He played the game solid. I thought they'd give him a little bit longer, but it just goes to show you. So just for shits and giggles, what are they going to do? Rehire Joel Quenneville?
At this point, I think everyone's hoping the Rangers get him.
We'll talk about that in a little while.
So, a couple of those stories. I just want to do this really quick. Richardson was 57, 118, and 15 in 3 seasons. So, more or less in the end. So right now the Blackhawks 16 and 2. So looks like they moved on from Luke Richardson.
To who though? Does it say who?
Yeah, there's an interim coach. Hold on. Anders Sorensen.
Who?
Anders Sorensen, the coach of the American Hockey League affiliate, was the interim coach.
Never heard of him.
So, Anders.
You're going to pull the guy right out of the stands, I guess, instead. I wouldn't know.
He's
selling beer.
He's the main league coach. I'll tell you what. I mean, does that mean Nick Foligno's available or what, man?
Yeah, I'd take him. But
I'd take either one of the Folignos, sure.
I would take him, but he'd have to be in the understanding that he's not going to be on the top 2 lines. That's for sure.
I would take the guy.
Because you got to get some rest there, Paul. You're working too hard at that wonderful company of yours. What's it called again? WBM or BMW? What?
Telling you, man, I'm tired these days. Tired.
Winter does that to you, Paul. Even down in Tampa, winter does that to you.
Oh yeah. That sent me a good one today. that I thought was really good. I mean, it's willing to it's good enough to take up a little time. The top 25 unrestricted free agents of
Here we go.
July 1st. I gotta tell you, it's not as impressive as people think. Number one, first of all, Kotze. John Tavares is making $11 million.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, there's probably we could wow a whole bunch of them that are making that kind of money around the National Hockey League. So
Yeah, but isn't
he's
he?
having a resurgence this year. Go look at his numbers, Paulie.
Jamie Benn. Jamie Benn's a free agent.
Yeah, he's getting up there in age, though. You'd have to take a cut and pay.
Yeah. Rantanen, Brett Burns, Ekblad.
Brett Burns isn't he like 400 years old?
Yeah, he's making $8 million. He's 40 actually. I didn't realize Tavares was 34. I thought he was a little bit older than that.
No.
Mitch Marner's number 2, making 10. Mitch Marner.
Oh, yeah, they've been talking about him in Toronto for a couple of years now, re-signing him. So
10-9.
They'll probably re-sign him. That's my gut guess.
Down here at the bottom of the list, Riley Smith, I didn't realize he's 34, making $5 million. Granlund from Calgary. He's number 23 here. Shesterkin is 29, making $5.6 million. We'll talk about that. Here's one that shocked the shit out of me. Neil Pionk. Guess he's having a good year this year. I didn't know he made almost $6 million a year, though. He's 5.75.
Yeah, well, you know what? Go look at his numbers over the last 3 years there in Winnipeg. They're not too shabby.
Yeah. Claude Giroux, Brock Bosner. He's one. Brock Bosner from
Vancouver.
Yeah. He's 28. I didn't know he was 28 though. I thought he was
they'll resign him. They'll resign him. Vancouver
6.6.
Yeah, they'll resign him.
So I'm not. I don't know. I think Jamie Benn's a good guy, but I can't imagine at 35 what he's going to wind up getting.
You can't. The only way. Listen, I like Jamie Benn. He's had a great career. There's no question about it.
He really has.
Look at Dallas. I mean, they're one of the top teams in the league right now, and Jamie Benn's still the captain of that team. So, he'd be if he left, he'd probably leave in search of a team that just needed a little spice added to it to win a Stanley Cup. He would if he signed with a team that's rebuilding. No. I got oceanfront land for you in Kansas City. You know what I mean? It's not happening. Not happening. Not fucking happening. No way. There's a lot of good names on there, but it's like that every year, Paul. Guys, like, oh, we should get this guy, we should get that guy. The fans of their teams. That'd be great. Blah blah blah. But you see how that works. Sometimes it works, but most times it never really works. You end up giving a guy a big ticket. You give him more than 5 years, and guess what happens to them? Their game deteriorates when they're up in age, like some of those guys, and you can't get rid of them with 3 years left, making 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 million a year. So,
well, I was having this conversation yesterday too. I mean, I really hope that the Rangers brass learned a lot from these contracts that are just not movable. You can't keep signing guys for long periods of time with these. I can't trade you anywhere either. I mean, it's just awful.
But you and I've talked about this for years. When it comes to the free agency, the way it's set up in the National Hockey League today, you just named the top 25, right? Well, I'll guarantee you the top 5 that they're looking at there will have offers from everybody. And once you sign with you know acquire a guy like that through free agency, now it's a crapshoot. Are they going to produce or are they not going to produce? Is their game going to fall off or is it going to get better? That's the problem with free agency that we've seen over the last 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. You'll sign big names and they'll get there. And guess what? It's a big splat. You know what I mean? It doesn't work all the time. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it don't work all the time. So you got to really do your homework when you sign. I think when you're starting to sign guys in their late 20s and early 30s, you got to do your homework. You got to do it really well. Probably better than you ever did back in grade school. You know?
Yeah,
it's not that easy. What is that? A football game there, Mike? 7-0 Lightning over the Sharks.
I passed up tickets to that game tonight, by the way.
You still go to those games once in a while?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, of
I've
course.
I've only been to one Ranger game in the last 2 years. You know that, right?
I enjoy going to a hockey game if it's not, but I just didn't have it in me tonight, and I knew we had a show, so.
I enjoyed it until all of us got old, and we don't go out afterwards, so no, I don't go anymore.
So right now on NHL Fan Zone, the rumor alert is the New York Rangers and the Detroit Red Wings are said to be interested in former Blackhawks coach Bill Quenneville. So,
well, I do think he deserves a shot again. I mean,
he's a hell of a coach.
People have done worse in this fucking world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you and I, we've already beat that horse. Can't beat another one over about it. I would have done the same thing he did.
Well,
the first time around, I would have done the same thing. I got a hockey team to take care of. Who gives a shit about what you think?
Yeah.
The second time, that's where he might have made a mistake a little bit. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to get into it anymore.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the fucking day, it's not his job to babysit that nonsense.
Exactly.
He's there to coach a fucking hockey game. Really? You want to see shit hit the fucking fan? And I'm going to bring this up again because somebody texted me tonight. Not for nothing, but this assistant coach for the Kraken, she's a very pretty woman, man. She's pretty. She's got one hell of a body. You don't think something's going to happen soon? Come on, man.
I honestly have not seen – I've only seen pictures of her. I've never seen her.
It's a very attractive woman, man.
Like that.
Very attractive woman. I don't know. I don't get it. So, anyway.
Look where it is. What part of the country is it, Paulie? What is Seattle? Seattle's this woke city in one of the wokest states. And it's all about social justice warriors. That's what that is, okay?
Yeah. Well, you're right. But I bet you this comes to burn somebody in the ass.
Well, if it does, it does. If it don't, it don't.
Yeah.
Well, just in case you're wondering what's in my cup here.
What you got there, pal? With a hot toddy?
Don't worry about it. It's there's a little JB in there, but there's a little something else. So.
It's called a hot Totsy.
It's actually cold. It's cold. I see the red light just went on there. They must have put one by you.
I mean, shame on me for what? I'm just telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. You watch. You mark my words. Mark my words.
Oh, Beth's giving you the business. That's why you got to get Beth on the show right in the middle there, so she can give you the business when you say something.
Trying to give me the business.
She can give me the business too when I say shit. You know.
I don't know. You'll see. You mark my words.
Listen, Beth. I'm not as hardcore as Paulie on that, but I don't agree with having a woman as an assistant coach. I don't agree with a woman, period, being a coach in the National Hockey League, telling grown men, how to play the fucking game. That's it.
I love it. Anyway, Yes, we digress and we instigate. So prove me wrong. I don't know. I think I need a drink. But I want to kind of move forward here. So I know we have a little bit lighter of an audience because it's a Thursday. I'm sorry, I had to move it from Wednesday. I was trying to do Wednesday to Thursday though. What else do we got here? I think really, I mean, other than the things that nobody else cares about in the world with the hockey world, I did get something that was really funny from my buddy Carl, who's a listener of the show, and I thought it was hilarious. Well, I got two things actually. I don't know. I hope everyone saw this. I'm gonna try to have it posted. With
transplant, you're looking a little less thin up top. It looks great.
Is it?
Oh,
You know, but I just try to look like those guys who get the wheels off.
is that this stupid again? Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
hey, so did you hear what he
I
said?
didn't watch, no, I didn't watch that.
Oh my god, it's hilarious. So they're interviewing Martin, and Biz, you know, he's just a fool sometimes. He says something about his off season surgery. He says, "Oh, do they give you the hair plugs?" So he says, so Brad says, "Yeah, I'm trying to look like some of the guys that beat the wheels off you last week." And everybody fell out. Everybody fell out, man. I listened to that 4 or 5 times.
Oh, I'm sure Biz had a comeback eventually, right?
Oh my god, Gretzky and that whole panel. I think Wayne Gretzky was there.
Lundqvist?
Liam and
Was Lundqvist there?
no, he wasn't. Nancy Carter was there. So really, I thought that was hilarious. And
Yeah,
then
I didn't see that.
yeah, I thought that was great. So my buddy Carl sent that to me, and then there's a really good podcast I saw a little bit of Larry Brooks. You know, I know a lot of people feel different ways about Larry Brooks, but I like his writing, and I think I think he really gets. I think he gets the fans, and I think he gets the game enough where his articles are usually, for me, they're dead on in a lot of ways. I like Larry Brooks. I like what he says. And when we do a little bit of Rangers stuff, I'm going to bring it up because I think Kotze, he agreed with you last week. You said something that really kind of rung through to a lot of people, and Brooks backed you up. And I don't know if he listened to you or if he feels the same way, but he said the Rangers don't look like a team that's hard to play against. They're not physical enough. They're not scary enough. There's not enough to be.
Let me interrupt you here. Larry's been covering hockey a long time. He actually worked for the New Jersey Devils at one time. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes Larry gets it. He's spot on, but sometimes he talks out of both sides of his mouth. I don't know how many years. I read his articles all the time in the New York Post. Okay,
Right.
I read him back then when I played, and I read him now since I've retired. If you go back, you can see how many times he says you got to get the fighting out, you got to get the dirty stuff out, you got to get the physical crap out of hockey. Right. But now he's saying you need that. Which one is it? Like he was a proponent of getting rid of everything when it comes to the dinosaur days and shit like that.
Yeah.
But now he's kind of when he mentions something like that in this art, like this thing you're talking about, the podcast. What is he telling you? He's telling the Rangers got to get meaner, they got to get tougher, they got to get dirtier. Well, how do you do that? How do you do that? You knock the shit out of people, you drop your gloves and beat the fuck out of somebody once in a while. So which one is it, Larry? What do you want?
Well, and he went on to say he really believes Mancini should be playing.
I agree with that.
He believes Matt Reppy should be up with the team every day. Maybe not play in every game, but he should be up with the team. He should have, as you said before, he makes other teams think. He puts a spark in the building at home. He gives the players around him a little more confidence to play because they know they got somebody to take care of business if he's there. I just thought it was a really good podcast, and I was like, fuck, he's dead on. I agreed with him 100%.
I just, I do read his articles, and he does make a lot of sense. I'm not going to, but he's allowed to be criticized once in a while because I've seen where he contradicts himself over the decades. That's what I'm talking about.
Sure.
And what turns me off about his articles, when he starts the analytic bullshit. There's fucking numbers coming out of his ass on these things. Like this, that. I'll keep it simple again for you folks. If you lose the face-off when they pull the goalie and they tie the game up, is that more important if you losing the face-off when they pull the goalie and tie the game up on you, other than the 19 you won earlier? So now you're going to tell me you're a great face-off man? What the fuck are you talking about here? You just lost the game, or you let the game tie. So that's what I think of analytics. I think there's too many of these guys, old school, like Larry, and again, I appreciate what he does, that have jumped into this mathematical, quiz on everything. Valaket does it too. And I've talked to Valaket about it. I don't buy that shit because you don't have an analytic for what I just explained to you.
Right.
How about the important face-off instead of like the 32 you took that night?
Right.
Oh, this guy averages 7 shots a game. Who fucking cares? How many went in?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Larry gets a little carried away with it. That's just my opinion, but I still read him. So
yeah.
I know what you're talking about, the podcast. It's with him and Boyle and Molly Walker.
Yeah.
I was actually on that show a few times back when Ron Duguay and Molly were doing it. But we were doing it by phone and there wasn't a video and stuff like that. So they bounced the old guys, Doogie and me, and now they got Boyle, who's doing a good job. I watched him on TV. He's getting better and better and better at what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just thought more importantly, and I'm ready to go because I tell you, I really don't want to go too over it tonight. I want to kill this at 9:30. So
yeah. I agree with you.
Talking about, analyzing the New York Rangers, Cots, I thought about this before before we got on the show, and I kind of said, you know what? I think tonight I want the fans to really get the insight from you. And I think I really kind of want you to take the show over with this. Couple of real questions I'm going to ask you, okay? Because we do this, we'll watch a game together and, we'll talk about it and you'll say, well, I was watching this part of the play and I was watching something else, right? Yeah. So here we are, we all know the team is struggling, okay? So I think what I'm going to do first is I want you to analyze this game on a coaching level and tell me what you have, what you're working with, where would you make the adjustments? What adjustments would you make?
Well, first of all, I'm not a big fan of moving guys around up and down like from line to line, back and forth. And I'm also not a big fan of changing your pairs on defense all the time. And I think that's kind of happened here a little bit. That's just me. I'm not telling you that Lavalette's doing the wrong thing. I'm just telling you about what I feel. As a defenseman, I want to know that my partner knows how I am as a player, and I know how he is as a player. What are his good traits? What are my good traits? What are our bad traits? How we can help each other. And how do you get that? It's called being familiar with each other. How do you get familiar with each other? You play with each other. You don't go from one pair to another after 3 games, 5 games, 7 games. You play 20, 30, 40 games together with each other. I mean, let's go back to the 94. I know it's like Jurassic Park going back to the 94 Stanley Cup team, but did anybody else play with Brian Leach other than Jeff Bukaboom?
No.
You know what I
mean? Boom was out of the lineup altogether.
You understand what I'm saying here? So, like, they knew each other. You know, Leachy knew that Book was going to back him up every way, defensively, physically, everything. And vice versa. Book just had to get back there and hand the puck to Leachy. Leach is going to take care of it. I'm just giving you that. That's the one thing I don't understand. I've never understood that. It's got nothing to do, you know, with Lavi or this coach or that coach. They all do it, and I don't understand that. The best year I had, I think, in my career as a partner was Marty Howe, not Mark Howe. I was with Mark Howe my first year in Hartford, and I ended up winning the Budweiser Cup, which is the best defenseman on that team. You know, but the next season I was with Marty the whole year, and nicknamed the Fog for a reason. But the Fog and I were like, we knew exactly what we were doing together. And Marty ended up being the best plus minus on the team, and I was the second best plus minus on the team on a bad team because we were in tune with each other. So that part there, I'd like to see more settlement on who's the actual pairing. Like you say, what would I do? I would probably put Trouba with Jones right now. That's what I would switch and make sure they stick together. You know, I think Fox needs a bigger, more physical guy on his side that's going to stay at home and play the Jeff Bukaboom style. Where do you get one of those? I have no idea. Maybe you get this guy out of retirement right here. You know, see, it says Katsopoulos on the back. No, I'm just kidding. Up front, it's the same thing, Paul. I noticed, like in the last few days, Lavallette's put Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere back together, who were doing really good at the beginning of the year as a line. Then they kind of moved up and down a little bit, stuff around. Trocheck going down, this guy coming up, Zibanejad, back and forth. Leave that line together. Don't mess with it. Let it play out the rest of the year. That's what I would do. Because that's basically your top line. People don't want it. They might want to say that Kreider's a Zibanejad, but it's not. That's the top line. Line number 2, line number 3, and line number 4, that's where you can move players around when things are not going. Because in all reality, the top line is going to get the most minutes, Paulie.
Right.
Your fourth line, in my book, the fourth line, it's got to be decent, but it wouldn't bother me as a coach if they're only getting 4 or 5 minutes a night. Wouldn't bother me at all. That's why I think Rempe should be back. And all the fans that want to criticize, he's not good enough, he can't do this, he can't do that, he gets stupid penalties. I hear all that shit. I really don't care. Put him in the lineup. The other team notices it. Out of the lineup, the other team don't give a shit, and they're easy to play against. But what I'm saying, as a head coach, you keep your top line intact, and if you want to move stuff around, it's the number 2, number 3, and number 4 lines that can go back and forth, as far as I'm concerned. That's what I would do as a head coach. And as for goaltending, Shesterkin's the guy they've been riding, okay, for a few years now.
Yeah.
And he's struggling a little bit. But I think his struggles coincide with the team struggles. We've seen this before with Lundqvist, okay? Lundqvist stood on his head, and he had games like Shesterkin's had. Maybe you want to play quick a little bit more. That one there, it's neither here or there with me. I think you're probably going to go with Shesterkin more often than not. And I'm going to stick with him too. Other than that, Paulie, the power play is kind of sucky lately. Maybe move a few guys around, Give him a shot. Give him more than 30 seconds, okay? I know they put Lafreniere up there because Kreider was up. Kreider's back, and he got a goal the other night, I guess, on the power play. I didn't see the stats. I didn't see the game. And I would think that you got to probably get more ice time for Will Cooley right now, because right now Will Cooley, from the jump of this season to now, has been the most consistent player, living up to what he's supposed to do. Panarin was for a while, but Panarin's game's fallen off a little bit the last couple of weeks. And if anybody thinks different, they're full of shit. Okay? That's it. That's the thing what I'd do. But I'd also, like I said, I'd bring up Rempe. I would. And I know people want to, you don't know what you're talking about.
All right. Now I'm going to switch thoughts. You're the general manager.
It's pretty easy. I'm the GM.
Yep. What are you going to do?
Everybody's available for the right price. Everybody.
Yeah. There's
no. Everybody wants to say, I've heard people say that, like, Will Cooley, I would keep. Everybody else is available. I've actually heard that. If the price is right, nobody's untouchable, Paulie. There's not a Mary Lemieux on this team. You know what I mean? There's not a Connor McDavid.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
I'm going to go through it. There's no Connor McDavid on this team. There's not an Austin Matthews on this team. There's not a Kaprizov, Kaprizov, whatever his name is, in Minnesota right now, who's leading the league in scoring. I mean, so why would you say that? Why would you not at least look at anything that anybody wants to try and get from you? I'm not saying you make the move, but I would be open. I would be open right now to anything and everything, from Shesterkin all the way out.
So
making the playoffs is one thing, Paulie, but this team is not supposed to be just making the playoffs. They're supposed to contend. Okay? And if things continue, I'm not saying they're going to continue the way they are. Maybe they'll burst out of it in the next few weeks. If it doesn't, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you open everything up to everybody's available?
Well, you made a great point last week that a lot of people heard. You know, you're like, well, how are you going to make a move? What are you going to do? Who's available? You know, who's going to want this guy? Who's going to make that trade? You know, you can't. It's not as easy as it once was. And, you know, everyone heard that.
It's true. It's true, though.
Exactly, and everyone heard that. But there are players that are movable, and there are things you could do. Do you think, if you're the GM right now, do you think this team needs a shot in the arm? Do you think it needs a little bit of a stirring? I got to tell you, I think defensively, I think the Rangers have what they need as far as defensemen that are up and coming. Jones is looking good. You were talking about, I love Mancini. We were talking about Mackey in the minors, or McKay, however his name is pronounced. You know, there's opportunity there, and I think we're very weak along the boards in our own end with guys like Lindgren, with guys like Fox. I think Keandre Miller is never going to get it. He's never going to play up to his physical size and potential. I think these guys, I think they're movable. I think they're movable players. They don't have, you know, crazy contracts, especially Miller and Lindgren. And I think Fox is a movable guy. I'm sure there's teams that think Fox is the next thing since sliced bread. So, do you think this team gets a shot in the arm? Maybe you move a Keandre Miller out of here and bring up Mancini and get a player, or just is it time to make a statement? Because they didn't win the cup last year.
I know. I hear you, Paulie, and I always try to play devil's advocate with you because I don't really want to trash the Rangers, but when you're talking about trading guys like Miller and Zibanejad and Kreider and so on and so on and so on, again, we know it's not easy to make it reciprocate contract-wise, money-wise. But here's the other problem you have. Who are you targeting to get?
Sure, I understand.
So you're targeting, obviously, somebody you think's an upgrade. Well, if you're targeting an upgrade, they're usually on a pretty good hockey team that's contending for a Stanley Cup. There's not, you know what I'm saying? There's not the lower dregs of the league that have got a lot of great players that you want that are going to add to your team immediately. So what you're saying, if these things happen, you're either giving up on the season because you're going to end up with draft choices and youth. You're going to end up with potential guys that haven't quite hit their stride yet. You know what I mean? It's hard. I mean, sure, I'd love the Kachuk kid from Ottawa coming to the Rangers right now. But what are you going to give up for him?
Everything.
Well, I know it sounds foolish and laughable, but you wouldn't do it in reality. Not everything. You have to give a lot, but you're not going to give everything.
I'd give up 4 players for him.
Well, yeah, but that's not everything. I get what you're saying, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not as easy as everybody thinks anymore. I would be out there. Listen, I'd give this thing another 2-3 weeks if I was GM right now. Only because of the one reason. As bad as they've been, guess what? They're still in the playoff spot. People don't realize that. As bad as they've been, they've still been falling. The floor hasn't fallen out from underneath them. So you got time to either bust out of this slump and get things back to normal where you can at least maybe grab a player or two somewhere before the playoffs start. You know what I mean? Instead of doing something like this is a Black Friday sale. You know what I mean? Here, take my guy, I'll take yours. You know what I'm saying? It's not as easy as it used to be. And I know I keep repeating it. It's just not that easy. You got to have a buyer. You have to have a buyer, and you have to have the right numbers crunching right now for the New York Rangers because they have no cap space whatsoever.
Yeah, I think I feel as though, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think that you can prey upon the bottom feeders here. I think you could look at teams like Montreal, San Jose, the Ducks.
Okay, let's bring Montreal up. Who would you try to get?
I can't really focus on one specific player right now, but I mean,
I would take Josh Anderson, but you don't have to give. I don't think you'd have to give up a ton for him.
So,
but if you're talking about Suzuki or Caulfield or any of those young guys,
no, I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying right now you need to go and find yourself a dynamic player and break the team up or things like that. I'm just saying, do you think this team needs a shot in the arm and a wake up call to say, okay, Drury goes out there? Because I honestly don't see the value in Miller. If I'm being honest, I don't see the value. I don't know why the kid plays every night, especially now that you have Mancini and you have Zach Jones, who's improving. I don't know why Miller plays every single night. I really don't. I do not see the upside in this kid anymore. I've given up on him. And I think he's a good movable piece. And like you said, well, maybe you get a couple draft picks. It's not like you're creating a huge gap in the team.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But again, you got to have a person that wants him, a team that wants him, a general manager that thinks he can turn him around.
Right.
Well, otherwise, what do you get? It's not. All I'm saying is, right now, I think Chris Drury is going to have open doors, but I don't think it's going to happen as quick as everybody wants. That's all. I think there's a possibility after this weekend maybe something happens, but I also think he's going to wait till the bottom. If the bottom falls out, where they're like 5-10 points out of a playoff spot. You know what I mean? And that hasn't happened yet, Paul. So
you think Drury's just going to hold his cards close to him and hope for the best? And then I think Lavalette and the coaching staff and Drury are hoping that these guys pull together and get it going again like they did it early in the season, regardless of who they played. I hear this all the time. Oh, you didn't beat anybody good. Well, the rest of the fucking league plays the same fucking teams. I don't hear that shit either, okay? I don't hear that shit from them either. You know what I mean? But when they beat, like the Sharks are getting killed by Tampa tonight, 7-0.
What are we supposed to pin a medal on Tampa tonight? You know what I mean? Fuck them. They're beating up a shit team. So you play who you play. You win against who you play against. That's it. I think the next week to 3 weeks, you could be possibly right. Something will happen. Something will happen trade-wise. But it's not going to be as easy as everybody thinks. Miller did sign a new contract. Remember that. I don't know how many years he's got left on his $4 million contract. Zibanejad's got another 5 years left on his. Kreider's got 1 year left on his. Panarin's got a zillion years left. Fox has got a few more years left. I mean, think about it. You're gonna have to have a willing partner, one way or the other. But I do agree with you, Mancini should play. But here's the other thing that we were going to talk about, and I'm going to bring it up now. Here's why I think they're struggling right now. Honestly, I think there's more than a handful of players on this team right now who think they're actually better than what they really are. They're playing a type of hockey that I don't think they're capable of playing. And I'm not going to name names. I'm going to let the people let it soak in. I think on the back line and up front, you got guys who believe that they think they're like Connor McDavid, Mary Lemieux type players. And I think on the D line, they think they're Cale Makars. You get my drift here?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them need to pull back the reins and like be who you were when you first got to the NHL. If you were a physical, stay at home type defenseman that wants to add to your offensive game, by all means do it. But don't neglect what got you there. Same up front. There's a couple of guys up front that are doing the same thing, Paulie. And I think that's why they're struggling right now. Because there's no unity when you watch these guys play. It's I don't understand how you can't figure out with 5 guys on the ice that this is how you play D in the D zone, all 5 guys. Well, this is how you're going to play D as they're crossing the neutral zone. This is the guy I got to pick up. Oh, you got that guy, I got this guy. You got this guy, I got that guy. It's just way too hectic watching game after game of players going right down the slot, nobody touching them. 1 defenseman in front of that, 2 offensive guys in front of the net. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. That's why you need this guy again, right here.
Yeah. Well, why aren't you out there coaching these boys?
I'm not woke enough. How's that?
Well, I mean, I think that's the problem. We got to get rid of this wokeness, and we got. I mean, I'm being asked in the chat. Why do you think if you don't want Miller, why would somebody else? Miller still holds value in the league, my friend. He just doesn't hold value on this team. He's still looked at. He's a big-bodied player. He's got good skates. I just don't – the Rangers need something else. Sometimes a player just doesn't work with the team. So I hope I answered your question. Miller could probably bring something to another team. He's a big-body guy. He uses his stick well. He's just not physical enough for what the Rangers need right now. We don't need another offensive-minded defenseman on this team. You take your lashings with Fox defensively because of his offensive game, okay? Because he sucks defensively, and we all know it. But he brings that element. He brings that one-on-one element. You know, he quarterbacks the power play well. There's other elements that are, you know, okay, so you have this type of player. Chris made the analogy, you know, earlier in the show. You had Brian Leach, who was an offensive defenseman, with Jeff Bookaboo. Miller just doesn't fit. And at the end of the day, he's not the only one that I would get rid of. I mean, I know there's people who just absolutely love Lindgren. And I understand they love him for his heart. I was the first guy to say last year, I would have not signed him to do a new contract. Now, they didn't take a bath in his contract, but he just cannot compete anymore for these New York Rangers. Now, does that mean he can't go to another team and fill a hole? No, it doesn't mean that. He just this team is undersized in the back end as it is. And the guys that are big, like Miller, don't play like big players. Patsy said it. The only guy you have back there that's willing to play physical is Trouba, and he has to do it all. You do have Schneider, who I think I think Kotze's trying to explain to people that Schneider needs to get back to his physical game. He needs to get back to his physical game. If he wants to add offense, it's one thing, but play to the root of what you know why you got here. We need Schneider to be more physical. So I hope you answered that question in the chat.
Yeah, I just don't understand a defenseman in the National Hockey League that not constantly, but gets hit hard all the time. And there's a reason for that. You know, you pass the puck to your partner and the guy still runs you through the boards. Mm-hmm. You go back to get the puck, the guy runs you through the boards. You know what I mean? You're up with your own blue line, you make a pass, the guy runs you into the sideboards. Well, there's a reason for that. The reason is that you don't impose any fear on the players. And I'm not telling you that I was the greatest player. I was good enough to play in the National Hockey League, but I rarely got run, Paulie. After my first year in the National Hockey League, people knew that you're coming in my fucking corner, you're coming at me, that I was going to take you out. I was going to put my stick up and put it through your mouth if you charged me, but I was ready for you. And they did it once. Not many did it twice. But the days of Chris Pronger are gone. Nobody used to run Chris Pronger. How come? You know why? Because he nailed guys and he put sticks in their mouth. He cross-checked guys in the face and he let them know. You think you're going to run me the whole game? You're going to hit me the whole game? This is what you're going to get. From now on, focus on this. How many times in a Ranger game you'll see the D, whether it's behind the net, their corner, sideboards, whatever, get hit after they make the play. Get hit hard, too. Happens a lot. And I don't understand why. There's only one way to stop that. Do a forceful act of violence that the league and the team and everybody in the league will know that you ain't taking their shit anymore.
Right.
That's it. The money they make today, they shouldn't worry about a fine. Look, Ryan Reeves got fined $35,000. He missed $35,000 for missing, 3 games or whatever it was? 5 games? Whatever. He didn't care. He just told his kids, no Christmas presents this year. That's what he said. That's a true line.
I know.
But you know what I'm saying, Paulie? I don't understand it. Why you constantly get run all the time. And take it. And just go up the ice like nothing happened.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the change in hockey that I can't figure out. Keandre Miller, we get back to the Keandre Miller story. This guy is a mystery to me.
He's got all the tools.
If you went up and down like the check, he'd be checking off 10 in a lot of things. But that one thing, the one thing that it'd be like invisible ink. Toughness. If he ever, and how many times have I said if he ever?
He's never sure.
If he ever learned somehow, some way to play mean when he's in the corner, mean in front of the net, you know how much better the rest of those checks would be? That just they'd be so the game would be so fucking easy for him.
Well, Cots, is that actually learned or is that in you? I mean, at this point, how long has the kid been in the league?
But it's really weird because at times he will throw a check and look good doing it. And then when they had that little 5-on-5 brawl at the beginning of the year, remember, he pounded the shit out of that one guy. I can't explain it. I talked to him. I told him. I didn't get to tell him what I really thought, but I told him. I said, you got the world by the balls playing here in New York. I think you're right. I think he's a tradable guy because he's got everything.
Except for that one thing, yeah.
I
think he'd do well somewhere else.
I think he's a mystery. He's a mystery to me how he doesn't understand that part of being that size and being that tall and using it to an advantage. The only thing he uses for advantage is his length.
His reach.
Yeah.
His reach. Yeah. Again, if he actually played the way we wanted him to play, he'd be irreplaceable.
He would be devastating.
Yeah.
For the opposition.
Because he doesn't play that way, I feel that he is replaceable. And I believe the Rangers have his replacement in Mancini. I really do. He's a big, strong kid. He's got a great shot. He's quick. I like him. I like him a lot. And I just think I don't know why he's not playing, but I asked you to be the coach and asked you to be the GM tonight. At the end of the day, I have to be honest with you, and you know that I always am, and you know that I'm a lot more skeptical.
You're just a little more volatile.
Yeah, I got to tell you, and I said it last year.
That's why we do the show. We get the.
I'm going to close it with this. Here's the bottom line, okay? And I know the Ranger fans, some accept this and believe it, and some don't want to and say, "Oh, what kind of fan are you?" Well, I'm a third generation Ranger fan for one. For two, I've been through every ups and downs. I got to tell you, here's where I'm at with the New York Rangers. I said it last year that I didn't think they were good enough. I just didn't think they had the team. And Kotze always plays devil's advocate and would say, "Well, that's not what their record says. Look at their record." Okay, we know they won the President's Trophy. I felt like the Carolina Hurricanes were the better team in the playoffs. I think goaltending won that series, and that's just how I feel. I forgot what his name was, Freddie Anderson, I want to say. I don't know why I keep thinking that, but I didn't think he was good for Carolina at all. I thought Chris Kreider, when he had his hat trick or he scored 2 goals, and I think it was Game 6 or whatever it was. I thought they were very savable. Just a lot happened there. But like everyone said, well, their record is this, their record is that. The Florida Panthers, I felt, ate them up. I thought the Florida Panthers really were able to play a brand of hockey that the Rangers just couldn't match. The power play died. They couldn't compete physically, especially in their own defensive zone. The forecheck was just too much. It
was a bad matchup.
Yeah, they got eaten up.
But I'm going to disagree with you with the Carolina thing.
Okay.
You just said it. You thought they were the better team. Well, if they were the better team, why did their goalie suck?
Well, I just didn't think they had the goaltending.
Okay, but that's part of the team, isn't it?
Understood.
Carolina is a perfect matchup, actually, for the Rangers because they're not a physical team. They're not a physical team. They don't play with intimidation.
I thought Chris Durkin stole a lot of that series.
That's part of your team.
Understood. And
I guess
that's why it turned out the way it did.
the goaltender in Florida is not part of the team when they win a Stanley Cup.
Sure, but did you think he was better than Shesterkin?
As good.
Okay, as good.
Going into it, as good. He proved it by the year he had.
He was as good, and the Rangers got eaten up by Florida.
Because of what you said. I agree with you on this.
So
they got eaten up because of a certain style of play.
Okay, so I want to move past that, and I want to get to this year. And we talked about the Devils game. Kotze didn't see the game. I watched the game. I have to tell you, watching the game, now let's put the Rangers where they are, because you can't look me in the face, even last year when they won the President's Trophy, and didn't tell me they didn't have huge defensive lapses in their game. There was grade A chances all the time against Shesterkin. The difference was Shesterkin would make that save more times than not, and everybody would say, wow, Shesterkin. The players would say he's the best player we have, the whole 9 yards, okay? Now, fast forward to this year. The game against the Devils, I actually thought the Rangers played a good hockey game. I didn't think they were out. I didn't think they were embarrassed like they were against Buffalo and with several other teams that I saw them just get absolutely embarrassed by. I thought they actually played well. I just think that Shesterkin was not him, and I thought Markstrom was very good. And the Rangers rely very much on Shesterkin to carry them, just like they did with the Lundqvist years. To get them that save that normally isn't a save, to make that play that normally would go past you and give them a spark or just keep them in games. And then the Rangers' power play and their confidence on their offense would propel them forward. Whether you get that same team coming out of this stretch, okay, they got a stretch of a couple of easy games, and then Buffalo is not a laydown anymore. So, but Pittsburgh has been struggling. Seattle has been struggling. So I think you got two teams that hopefully they can pick it up with there. But I still feel like this team is not a Stanley Cup champion team as it sits. I think there has to be some vast moves made. That's my point.
Well, I'm not going to argue that.
I don't see this team winning.
But I think what we all forget, and we all can talk about what we see now, is we were hoping that certain guys were going to play a certain type of role, but when it comes to the physicality part, and only one up front is doing it, and that's Will Cooley.
Yeah.
We were hoping that there would be more. Like Kreider would use a little bit more physicality. You know what I mean? We were hoping that some of these guys would mature and actually play a little more physical on the back end. Because physicality is just as big as skill when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Just as big. And I will leave it at this too, though, Paulie. Sometimes I think you forget your goaltender has to be the best person on the ice night after night after night after night.
Absolutely.
Has to be the most consistent, best player night after night.
Agreed. And the Rangers depend on that for sure.
Yeah. Well, so do a lot of other teams, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, same team last year, very little difference.
No, I'm not going to argue that because, like I said, I think we were looking forward. I was looking forward to seeing a little bit more grit from certain players that they would figure it out, and they haven't figured it out.
Nope. I think it's time for a change. If I was to raise my hand, if I was back there, I would make some changes. I might do some soft, subtle changes right now. Like I said, I would move Keandre Miller. I believe the Rangers have what they need to fill that hole. I don't think it leaves a gaping hole for them, honestly.
Bringing up the kid was not a bad idea, though, from Hartford.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, and mark my words, the games that I watched, you know what he reminds me of? You're going to laugh. Give him time. He reminds me of a faster Marty St. Louis.
Oh, God. Wow.
Well, did he not shoot the puck every chance he could?
Yeah.
He didn't fucking look for a pass every time. Did he not set up a couple of guys really good? Like he looks like he knows what he's doing? Yeah. And was he not the fastest player on the ice?
Definitely fast. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
And he was willing to mix it up.
Yeah.
That's something Marty St. Louis would never have done.
Yeah. Well, he's still a little too small to be mixing.
No, he's as big as Marty St. Louis. Don't give me that.
So then you mean he's a little more like Theo Fleury, huh?
No, fuck. Theo Fleury was nuts.
I know he was.
He was nuts in both on the ice and off the ice.
Yeah, I know. Well, listen, I'm going to end it with this. I think the Rangers need to change. There's a lot of waking up that needs to be done, like you said. And, I know everyone knows that I continue to say this, and you know what? We could agree to disagree. One of those players that you're talking about, to me, in my heart of hearts, is one of their longest tender player right now. I have thrown in the towel for this guy for many years. And I know what he means to the team right now. I know what he is to this team right now, but I got to be honest with you. If he actually played like a power forward, it would make all the difference, I think. And he does.
It would. You're right on that. I would not disagree with you. He would be another guy that the opposition D would have to worry about.
Go hard to the net, cause havoc, get back there, bang some defensemen. He doesn't do it. He just hasn't done it. He hasn't done it in a long, long, long time. You're not going to win Stanley Cups on the power play deflecting pucks. I'm sorry. It's not how you're going to win. It's great to win some games, and it's you got to chip in, and I get it, but you're not going to win a Stanley Cup that way. Your game has to be complete, and it's not. I'm sorry. So that's that for me. Hopefully they can get some winning ways. They did have a streak like this last year with Jonathan Quick. Really helped them. Perkin was struggling. You better hope Perkin gets it back together here, and this team starts to come together, or else you're going to probably see a rebuild. So that's all.
Stay tuned.
I don't know. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Who they got Friday now? Who they playing Friday?
Pittsburgh. Playing Pittsburgh, then they play Seattle, and then they play Buffalo, I believe.
All at home?
They're all home games, too. Yes,
they got to win all three of those games. If they win all three of those games, like I said, it'll take a little longer for Drury to make a move. If they don't, then something will happen.
Don't disagree.
That's it.
Yeah. We're good. I'm good. We're all good. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week, more than likely on Wednesday. All righty? Peace.